Okay, so welcome everybody to our book club. So we are doing this book here, The Power of a Positive Team. I'm super excited about this. I love John Gordon. I think he's just very real, down to earth. He speaks in simple terms to make it very easy and relatable. And he is all about positivity. And that's something that, even when my husband and I, we were going through our, losing our store and losing all of our stuff, that was one thing that I chose every day. Like, I was like, I can't control these circumstances. I can't control the stuff going on around me, but I can control my attitude. And I've got 2 toddlers watching me, and I'm going to do that. And so that was something, even then, before I was in Tupperware, that I made a choice every single day to choose. And that was a positive outlook and a positive attitude. And some days it was really, really hard. And so I love, this book is so easy to read. I have it on Audible too, so I listen to it in the car. But I'm just amazed at how quick a read it is. And so we are just going to kind of get into this, because that's something that Champion's really good at. This book talks about team culture and things like that. He has another book that's Power of a Positive Leader. And that's really good for leaders. But this is really good just as an overall. And I thought it would be really great for all of us at Champion to just kind of, just really think together about, like, what can we do to take our good to make it great, right? Because there's so much good going on at Champion in our culture, thanks to the leadership of Pam and Jim. And the more people that kind of understand it, I mean, people come into the room and they like the vibe. They're like, wow, this is a good vibe. I want to come back. It makes me feel good. We've had people refer to meetings as church, right? And so we want, the more people that kind of understand how that came to be, the more it's just going to kind of build on each other in that room, to make it just the most positive and exciting place that it can possibly be. And that's exactly what we want. But not only that, but it's not just about that rally room. It is about all of it. It's about what you take back to your family, what you take to your day job, what you take to your friendship circle, what you take in all those places. This is something that, can not only help you in your business, but help you all in your life. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Don't stress if you have not read the chapter yet, or if your book hasn't come in. Pam and Jim actually have, I think they'll have some in the store tomorrow that you can purchase. Super inexpensive, right on Amazon. If you have Amazon Prime, it's like less than 12 bucks. All right. So it's a great book. And those leaders, it's great for you to get stuff like this. I love to give books. My directors know I love to give them books whenever I'm giving them gifts and stuff. So we will get into it. All right. So I'm actually starting with, I'm going to start with the foreword. No one creates success alone. All right, it says, we are better together, and together we accomplish great things. And that's kind of our philosophy at Champion. Champion, one of Pam's mission is to create the perfect environment to grow sales and recruiting, right? And so that truly is that better together environment that we all talk about all the time. I'm going to go through and just kind of read some of the things I highlighted. If you have something that you want to add to it or share, please do. Okay, even if you're interrupting, please do, because that's what we need. We want it to be a back and forth here. And I will pause from time to time and be like, does anybody have any insights on this? And we'll go from there. All right, so no one creates success alone. We all need a team to be successful. And I think we all know that through life. I mean, even just the example of a rope, right? One string can be broken very easily, but when you put all those strings together to form a rope, it's much stronger. It's the same thing when you have team that you're working with, right? All right, so teams win Super Bowl championships. Teams perform open heart surgery and find cures for diseases. Teams design, build, and sell automobiles, phones, computers, video games, software, homes, and the latest, greatest products. Teams mobilize support for victims of natural disaster and help fight human trafficking. Teams work together to launch initiatives, companies, brands, products, and missions that change the world. And when you think about that, you know, it is, you think about all the great things in life, it's not necessarily an individual. There may be an individual that is the spokesperson for that. Like, for example, at Champion, Pam and Jim are the head of that ship, right? They're the captains, but we're the ones who are helping, you know, make it go forward and propel it forward, and to get all those things done so that we can move forward, you know. And so that is where that team comes in. A positive team, a united team is a powerful team. It doesn't happen by accident. A positive team is created by a group of individuals who come together with vision, purpose, passion, optimism, grit, excellence, communication, connection, love, care, and commitment to do some amazing things, and create something incredible together. And I think, you know, our entire, you know, I keep referring to the director team because we all work together really closely. We have calls that we do together. You see us at rally together doing those sort of things. And that's where we have that communication. We have that vision. We have that, you know, stick-to-itiveness, that even when we are under the weather, we still show up, right? We have that that grit to sometimes when things are down, when it's a downtrend in the business, we're still moving forward, right? And so so that's where our team kind of comes into play at Champion. So that's he says, that's why I wrote this book. I previously wrote The Power of a Positive Leadership, and You Win in the Locker Room First, but they were written to help leaders build their teams. He also wrote The Hard Hat, which is about being a great teammate. And so thinking about that, knowing like all John Gordon's books and things along those lines, you know, after we go through this, you know, maybe something that you can do with your team, a training you can do at a team meeting, is to get that Hard Hat book and talk to them about how to be a good team member, you know, because it starts there, you know, because they're going to be our next leaders, right? And so you start kind of grooming them there and getting them to catch the culture of Champion, and it makes it a seamless step up into leadership, right? Let's see here. I wrote this book and it's meant for teams to read together, which is what we're doing. All right. He wrote it in such a way that team members could read it together and understand what they need to do to be a positive and connected team. And the plan is that we read this book and we discuss it together, what we need to do to be a great team, and then take action together. All right. That's what we're doing here. We're going to take action together. So if you're willing to learn together, grow together, unite together, and act together, you will accomplish more than you ever thought possible. All right, so that's just the forward. And so we'll go into chapter 1. Does anybody have anything they wanted to add to that before I go? No? Okay, no worries. All right, so so we're going to go into chapter 1. And that's the power of positive. All right. Positivity is more than a state of mind. It's a power that gives teams a cooperative advantage in business, sports, creativity, and in life. All right. And you think about creativity, you know, my sister is a graphic designer, and she does, and so she works with a team, you know, and there are many times when I can be creative, but I have to kind of get into that space to get that creative flowing. And that's when you call on, you know, a couple friends or your power team or whatever you want to call them, and you're just like, hey, can you brainstorm with me, right? That's a good team activity to kind of do with your peers, your mentor, the people, your mentees, right? People you're mentoring. Lots of different cool team activities. All right. Let me just take a peek real quick. I'm going to mute that person real quick. I want to keep the recording nice and clear, but please unmute yourself if you need to talk. All right, so positive teams are more engaged and more likely to overcome all the forces against them to make a greater impact. It's challenging to work towards a vision and create a positive future. It's not easy to pursue greatness and do what has never been done before. As a team, you will face all kinds of adversity, negativity, and tests. There will be times when it seems as if everything in the world is conspiring against your team, and there will be moments that you want to give up. I'm sure if you all came off mute and told me, you all would say there's definitely been times in your life or in your business that you wanted to give up for whatever reason. And so last week we were at our director meeting, or 2 weeks ago, I'm getting my weeks all mixed up. 2 weeks ago, we were at a director meeting, and Pam made a comment, and she said, you know, the devil doesn't show up with horns and a pitchfork, right? He shows up in the little things, and he shows up in the gossip, and he shows up in the negative comments, and he shows up in those little things. That's something that just kind of itches away, like at the culture that we're creating. And so it's really important to recognize that and be diligent and make sure that you're part of the solution and not a part of the problem. Something that's really important whenever you are, you know, training yourself, whether you're listening to books, reading books, taking courses, or whatever it is the only way that you're truly going to get something out of it is if you're willing to shine a light on yourself and say, do I do that? Not just go, oh, I don't do that because it's ugly and I would never do that. But just to really be honest with yourself and just kind of question, do I do that? You know, there was one time in the last year I was talking to Pam, and we were talking about some advice or a conversation that I'd had with somebody. And all of a sudden I realized, I said to her, I was like, oh my gosh, Pam, did I say the wrong thing? Because I realized this person took it in not the way that it was intended. And I suddenly was feeling very guilty because it never occurred to me that she could take it that way. And so instead of me just saying, oh, I did the right thing, she took it the wrong way. You know, I just really did look at myself and just as a moment of like, improvement. This is something I need to be aware of and improve upon, and just be, but I was in that moment, all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, I think I did the wrong thing here, you know. And so it's important to recognize that. So if you are sitting here and you're thinking, well, I do sometimes talk badly about somebody because they're getting on my nerves, or I don't get along with them, you know, and just kind of realize, okay, maybe that's something that I need to be aware of, and that I need to correct that behavior, because it's just a habit. That's all it is. It's not, it doesn't make you a bad person. It's just you have this, you know, this little bad habit that you just need to break. All right. And so going forward, once you realize that, when you're aware of it and you're doing it anyways, now that's not a good thing. But when you're aware of it and you're like, you know what, I'm going to do better, I'm going to try to make a choice to do better in these situations, that is growth. That's where the magic happens, right? That's where, you know, really amazing things can happen in your personal life with that level of personal growth. So I challenge you to just, like, as we're going through this, to just really shine a light on yourself and say, okay, do I do that? Instead of just saying, ooh, that's ugly, I don't do that, I would never do that, right? Because sometimes we do, we're all human, right? And God gave us, you know, the right to choose, right? That's what he gave us. That's our freedom, you know. And so it's important to realize those little things that we are choosing every day, and making sure that we are choosing them in line with our values and in line with where we want to go and who we want to be, you know, because our past does not define us. What we're doing right now is what is going to define us for the future. And so make those choices wisely. All right, so when I talk about positive teams, I am not talking about Pollyanna positivity, where you wear rose-colored glasses and ignore the reality of the situation. It's kind of like what I was just saying. You know, if you just sit there and like, oh, I'm a positive person, and just throw positivity, you can't just spray positivity like a fire hose and everybody's boom positive. It doesn't work that way. Sometimes you have to, you know, kind of go at a situation to get it to come out, so you can work through it, so you can go forward in a positive direction. All right, so they are about real optimism, vision, purpose, and unity that makes the teams great. Positive teams confront the reality of challenging situations and work together to overcome them. So a couple of the directors and I, we are doing some coaching, some group coaching with John Gordon. And one of the things he said in his group coaching call was he knows somebody that he has worked with that has an elephant sitting on his desk, right? So when people come into his room, and maybe he needs to have a hard conversation with them about you know, some things, some actions they've been taking and how we need to correct that behavior, he says, okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The elephant's there to remind him to have those hard conversations so that you can move forward instead of just pushing it off to the side and letting it fester, you know, addressing it in a positive and learning way to move forward. So negative teams talk about and create problems, but they don't solve them. The future belongs to those who believe in it and work together with other positive people in order to create it. And I feel like truly at our core at Champion, that is exactly what we do. You know, we don't, and Pam's very, you know, don't just come at me with problems, come to me with problems and solutions. You know, it's okay to come to me and tell me we have a problem, but come to me with some creative solutions on how to fix it. Don't just tell me this is wrong and this is wrong. She said that for years to us. And so it's kind of trained me, and I kind of say the same thing to the kids. Like I was like, okay, that's a problem. All right, what can we do to fix this problem? Come to me with solutions. Go think about it, come back, let's have a real conversation. So the positive energy you share with your team is significant, according to the organizational expert Wayne Baker. The more you energize people in your workplace, the higher your work performance. Baker says that this occurs because people want to be around you. You attract talent and people, the more likely to devote discretionary time to your project. They offer new ideas and information and opportunities to you before others. Okay, that is Pam and Jim Clift right there in that paragraph. That's literally what they do. And it's funny because, so Pam and Jim, they are a part of like, I don't, a council or something, some sort of council with Tupperware. And it's a very select group of people. It's usually top people in the region. Some people get voted in, but the top person gets, you know, and they change it from year to year what the qualifications are. Pam and Jim have been on this council for a long time. That is what they do. When they're at that council, that them giving Tupperware their extra time and energy to help improve upon Tupperware's programs and things like that, they do that for us. They do, but because when they put that time in with Tupperware, that gives them a voice at Tupperware to be able to, and so when they have a problem or anything like that, they get heard because they've already, you know, invested their time and energy into helping Tupperware with their problems. So guess what Tupperware wants to do with Pam and Jim Clift? They want to help them with their problems should they arise. And so that's exactly what they do right there, you know, is they pay it forward, sort of, you know, they pay it forward knowing that, that by doing this and sort of volunteering their time to help Tupperware that will then in turn help them. It's significant. And it's funny because over the years, in the years that I've been in Tupperware, I watch Pam and Jim, I watch how they build our business, and I watch those little things that they do that seem insignificant, right? Hanging out with friends and doing things like that. But it's really all about building those relationships and helping Champion build by making those connections with top leaders around North America. You know, that's what the FSRC is, right? It's top leaders all around North America that they have this strong connection with, that they can network with. And then they're on this council that's going straight to corporate and forming those bonds with corporate and those other group of strong leaders. So, so it's significant, but that's exactly what you can do also in Champion by showing up. Just by simply showing up to rally, when asking for volunteering, you know, volunteering to help out with something at rally, you know, and as you kind of grow and evolve in the business, you know, you volunteer for new things and other things. And so that's a way that you can do it at our level. And we see Pam and Jim modeling it for us, and we can do it on a smaller scale here at Champion. Many think that you have the choice between positivity and winning, but you don't. Positivity is more than a state of mind. It is a power that gives a team a competitive advantage in business, sports, creativity, and life. The great thing about sports teams is that you can observe the effectiveness of these principles over the course of a season, right? And that's one of the things I love about watching sports and the Olympics and things. The Olympics I like because you don't necessarily, they tell about the journey, but you don't necessarily see the journey. But I love to see all that hard work come to, and all their vision come to life at the Olympics. But as far as watching a sports team over a season, that's really powerful to see. Just kind of how they go, because sometimes it goes like this and sometimes it goes like that, right? Right? We all have seen those seasons where it all starts to fall apart. And that has to do with whatever's going on in the locker room, whatever's happening at those practices. That has everything to do with that. So if you're not a fan of sports, simply take the sports example and think about how it applies to our team. You can think about, if you've been in Tupperware long enough, you can think about years that you trended up. What was going on? What was your state of mind as a leader of the team? You can think about years you trended down. Okay, what was going on? What was your state of mind, right? What was going on in your personal life? It kind of goes through that. Positive teams don't happen by accident. They happen when team members invest their time and energy to create positive culture, work towards a shared vision with a greater purpose, work together with optimism and belief, and overcome the negativity that too often sabotages teams and organizations. Positive teams take on a battle. They overcome the negativity, they face the adversity, and keep moving forward. They communicate, connect, commit, and encourage each other, and they build relationship and trust that makes them stronger. People on positive teams have a lot of belief in each other and a lot of love for each other and a lot of desire to accomplish something great together. And so for those of you that come to our Tuesday rally or you watch them online, I hope that that's what you see. I hope that that's what you see in us as a director team, because that describes us. Truly, there's so much love between the directors. Almost, sometimes it's best friend love, and sometimes it's more like sister love, right? Like, she's annoying me, but I still love her, right? And so they're different kinds of love. And so I hope that that's what you see when you see us together, because that is definitely what we feel for each other. And we all are working towards that shared vision. We're working towards that vision of making Champion a positive, powerful place for all of us to be able to really just make our dreams come true as far as our vision for what we want of our personal teams and organizations. And that's truly what we do together. They lose their ego in service of the team and find an uncommon collective greatness in the process, because they care more, they do more, invest more, commit more, and accomplish more. And I definitely see that in seasoned leaders. I feel like a lot of times they do put that ego aside, because there is no room for ego in this business. Anytime my ego has come into play, and it comes and goes. I mean, everybody has it, and everyone struggles with it, or they succumb to it, right? But anytime my ego starts to come into play, there's always something that kind of happens to take me down a couple pegs, right? And that's not a bad thing. That's God being like, hey, take it easy, girl, be humble, or karma, or whatever you believe in, right? So does anybody, that's the end of chapter 1. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? I am going to probably go into chapter 2 a little bit, just because chapter 1 was so short and we have some more time. But does anybody have any thoughts or reflections on chapter 1? I'll give you a minute because I got a drink.
So when it talks about nobody creating success alone, yeah, that's a really big thing. And I think sometimes some of the people on this call are like, they're too far away to be at rally, and they're not sure how they can get involved in that kind of thing. But it's really, really simple things like positive comments on the team page. I've had people that, like, when you put them on there and say, welcome so-and-so to Champion, they will call me the next day and go, 87 people like that comment. And it doesn't seem like a big thing, but it takes half a second to click like, and it takes another 2 seconds to click to write welcome, and it means a lot to people. Especially if they're far away too, they feel like they're part of something. And it's like at rally, I will go there, like little things at rally. it's sometimes we think, well, I'm not up there, or I'm not doing this, so what can I do? But when somebody's looking for a chair, so let
Right.
them know that they can sit by you. They don't have to be on your team to sit by you, or go get a chair, show them where the chairs are, or, almost anything. Tell them where to fill the water bottle, just to make people feel welcome. It really goes a long way with people. And we do that a lot, but I think sometimes people don't understand how simple something can be to be that part of that team that is a positive thing.
I agree. It's the little things. It truly is the little things. Thank you, Jenny.
Absolutely. And sometimes all it takes is just a smile and a hello,
Yes.
Yeah. Just to make them feel recognized and welcomed, and that absolutely. I love this chapter because it's all about positivity. Well, I know the whole book is about positivity, but that for me is like a work in progress. Um, and I do look at myself sometimes and say, do I do that? Because sometimes I do, and I don't mean to. Just it's a human thing. But I'm a whole lot better at that than I was years ago. So I keep working at it. I keep trying. But yeah, and I love everything that you've said, Ellen. It's absolutely true. Everything is good.
Awesome. Okay, so Melanie says, I feel disconnected at times, but that's my own issue. I'm participating and being a part as much as I can, which is great. It is great, absolutely. And Jenny hit the nail on the head when she said that even just kind of being that positive person online that's kind of like fielding some questions or cheering people on and doing things like that. That's a great way to help you feel connected, Melanie, for sure. And if you're feeling disconnected and you want to be more connected, that is something to kind of bring to the team. Be like, hey guys, how can I feel more connected? Because somebody might have a great idea that just hadn't occurred to you. So absolutely. And kudos to you, Lydia, because it's important to shine that light on yourself and be honest with yourself. You don't have to tell other people. It can just be a moment where the moment that I had with Pam, it was just like, it hit me like a lightning bolt. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong here? And I'm like, because that's never my intention. My intention is always not only to build my people, but to build others, and because I know that if I can build others in that room, it's just going to create that positive environment for myself because I got to be there every Tuesday too. So I don't want to walk into a negative space, right? And so, but for myself as well as my team. So yeah, it's important to kind of do that. And it's hard. It's not easy. And we're all a work in progress and we all deserve grace, whether we give it to ourselves or we give it to each other and just be like, well, they're going through something right now. And it just kind of allows us to be a little bit more accepting of each other, because that's so important to accept each other. Did anybody else have anything else they wanted to add before we move forward?
I just need to add a little bit more with being at the meetings and stuff. It's so important. I missed like 3 Tuesdays in a row because of one thing or another out of my control. And I never miss unless I absolutely have to. But you do. I started feeling a bit disconnected because I missed everybody. And it's important to be there if you can. And if you're not, make sure that you're online and you're involved and comment, whatever. But years ago, I was told you always need to be at rally. If you've had a great week, you need to be there because everybody needs to see that. Rally needs you. And if you've had a bad week, you need to be there because you need rally. So
I
one
love
way
that
or the
saying.
other, you are needed. You are needed there. You need to be there, and it's so true. So
Yeah.
true.
I agree. I love that saying. I absolutely love that saying. I've heard it before and it's very true. And I, of course, at the beginning of this year missed about a month of rally, and you feel very disconnected. And yeah, so yeah, it's important to plug back in, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. So we will just move a little bit further. I'm going to keep an eye on the time so we don't go too far. But chapter 1 was such a small chapter. I thought, well, we'll keep going forward a little bit. So don't stress if you haven't read it. It's not a big deal because you'll be able to get stuff from it anyways. And I love this. That chapter 2 is about positive teams create positive cultures. And behind every great team is a strong culture, great leadership, and passion, committed people. All right. There's a reason why all teams have a great culture. There's a reason why all teams, yeah, okay. Just making sure I read that right. All right. It's because culture is the living, breathing essence of what the team believes, values, and does. Team culture is the written and unwritten rules that say how a team communicates, connects, thinks, works, and acts. Your most important job as a team is to create a culture, and not just any culture. You must create a positive culture that energizes and encourages each other, fosters connected relationships and great teamwork, empowers and enables your team to grow, and provides an opportunity for you to do your best work. And that's definitely the culture that Pam and Jim work so hard on creating at Champion. Is that environment for all of us to be able to do their best work, including them. There's a reason why Jim plays the music when he plays the music, and the music that he plays, it helps with that energy in the room. There's a reason why Pam comes in just before rally starts, comes forward, we do our little powwow, and then she hits the stage. It sets the stage, it sets the tone, the culture of that meeting even, by everything that she does. And so I know that as a team, you are always creating your culture. You are creating culture every moment of every day by what you think, say, and do. It doesn't matter what your culture was like yesterday or last year. It matters what you're doing today to create it. So I'm going to ask a couple questions here. So if you want to come off mute and join in, that would be awesome. Or you can put it in the chat if you're not able to come off of mute. But what kind of culture do you think Champion has? Like, if you had to describe it in a couple words, what words would you use? I would have to, confident. Is that what you're saying?
Confident, people building, empowering. There's so many.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Those are definitely, and Melanie put empowering in the chat. Yeah.
Progressive.
Progressive. That's a good one. Yes, definitely. Because Pam and Jim are like always on the cutting edge of the newest things going on. Amy said dynamic.
Supportive.
Supportive, loving.
Uplifting.
Uplifting.
Caring, kind.
Caring, kindness. Absolutely. So, welcoming. That's a good one, Melanie.
I think it's a really spiritual culture too, not necessarily like where you like a pushy spiritual thing, but it's very much there.
Mm-hmm.
It's spiritual, it's not religious. There's such a difference.
There is a difference.
Good job, Lydia.
That's a big difference. Absolutely, absolutely. So when you think about that, so what's the kind of culture that you want to create on your team? All right. So we are all mini units, teams within Champion. So do you want that same culture mirrored onto your team? Are there other attributes that you want to infuse into your team culture? These are all important questions to just kind of ask yourself, and just when you're dreaming and when you're visioning where you want to go in this business, put those words in there. put those words into that vision to just kind of like something. Before I was even in Tupperware, and I was in another direct sales company. I remember I told myself, I will be the leader of leaders. I will be the leader of leaders. And that was part of my vision every day. I will be the leader of leaders. I will be the leader of leaders. And I was like, and it was funny because then when I came to Tupperware, everything just kind of started happening so fast, and I was building, and then my life was falling apart, and then I was rebuilding and all this. And I kind of got away from my visioning that I had been doing on a regular basis. And all of a sudden, I realized I was a leader of leaders. All those years of me thinking, I'm going to be a leader of leaders. I want to be a leader of leaders. I will be a leader of leaders. And then I was, and I was like, and it wasn't because, it was because of that foundation that I laid even before I was in Tupperware, when I told myself, I want to be a leader of leaders. I will be a leader of leaders, and so it's important to kind of think about your own team culture, because there are times that your team culture it's kind of off kilter, right? There's something kind of going on. It's kind of weird there. And so recognize it, sometimes maybe address it through kindness, and move forward, and get them on board. Get them on board with your vision. Get them on your bus. One of his books is The Energy Bus. It's one of his first books. It's amazing. Maybe we'll do that next. But but seriously, it's get those people on board and give them an important role in helping create whatever this culture is you're trying to create in your team. I knew a leader, and she said her culture was so bad that she said that her downline was her down in the dumps line. And so then decided she needed to change her thoughts around it, because she found herself thinking about how down her downline was. And so she started with herself. And so she started, instead of calling it her downline, she called her a success line. And I was like, see, sometimes just a simple shift like that is enough to kind of get your thinking back on track, because it starts with us. So if we're obsessing over something, if we're stressed about something, if we're replaying something in our head over and over again, we have to stop that before we can move forward and help our team get to where they need to be. Culture is dynamic. It's not static. People often look at leadership when it comes to the culture of the organization and team, and they should. Leaders have a huge influence on the culture. They set the tone and decide what the team values and stands for. But it's important to note that your culture is brought to life and created by everyone on your team. So I can be the most positive person in the world. I could do all of those things. But if my people aren't on board with my vision, if my people aren't on board with the power of that positivity, we're fighting against each other, and I'm going to get frustrated. It's going to be harder for me to be positive. It's kind of like, trudging along. And I've even, I've worked with leaders over the years, and they would say, I feel like I'm trudging along, and they're telling me and describing to me the way they feel about their team. And they're doing it with such passion and such energy that I'm like, this isn't good. All your passion and energy is going the wrong direction. It needs to be going where you want to go, not on how you feel like you've been. And so if you feel like, oh, I feel like I'm dragging my team behind me, if you're saying that, that's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? That's the law of attraction. You're bringing that to you. And so you have to adjust your thinking around that. It starts with you, but it doesn't end with you. It starts with you to be able to get them on board and get them to go forward.
Ellen, can I say something? Or
yes, please do.
Okay. So and this is a culture in Champion too, but like on my team, it's like a confidence thing. And that's something that you can get everybody behind. I don't care who you're talking to. When people start to talk about like selling Tupperware, and they're like, oh, I don't think I can do that. Or, I'm not good at stuff like that. That is like the very tip of, I don't have confidence in myself to do a lot of things. And if you can just start building people's confidence on your team and your friends and your family with your kids, it makes a big difference in everybody's life, and everybody wants to feel confident, so they will get behind helping other people feel confident too. And that gets rid of a lot of the negativity. Because I've even called people and said, listen, It's not the comments. I understand, and call me and tell me what you want to say, but on the team page or when you're talking to these people, she needs help building her confidence. So if we can keep the negative things off of there and just build confidence, be positive. And I've never had anybody say, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. They always want to get behind that. And I think confidence is a really big basic building block in helping people, because a lot of people don't, if they have self-confidence, they don't need you to help them build it. But it's really easy to see. And I mean, obviously my confidence has gotten better, but I still got a long ways to go. And Champion has really, I mean, all those years, there was not a lot of people that helped me build my confidence. And in the last few years of Champion, it has changed drastically.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I've witnessed it.
Absolutely. I didn't think that's all of us. But yeah, you're absolutely positively correct, Jenny. And one thing that you said, Ellen, that I absolutely love is success line instead of down line. I love that.
I know.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think I'll start using that. I love that.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting. Gosh, that was years ago. That was years. Like it was. I used to belong to a group called the DSWA, and that was how I met Pam. Is the Direct Selling Women's Alliance, and it was somebody, they did an interview with somebody in that. So it was probably like 15 years ago. But it always stuck with me, because I was like, yeah, sometimes you do feel that way. You're kind of like, I mean, how many times as leaders we're like, I need a whole new team. And we think that to ourselves, like, oh, I need a whole new team. Like, they're not really on board with me right now. And so, and yeah, sometimes, yeah, new blood always helps, that new infusion of energy for sure. But, we need to take a look at ourselves and see what are we putting out there as far as culture goes, for sure. All right. Thanks for adding, ladies. All right. So you and your team members have a huge influence on your culture and the culture you create. It's not just about what your manager, your school principal, boss, coach, or supervisor says and does. It's also about what you say and do. If you're a part of a negative culture, don't see yourself as a victim and a byproduct of it. Instead, get together with your team and create a positive culture to replace it. Culture is not static, it's dynamic. You can change it by what you say, you can elevate it by what you think, and you can prove it by what you share. You can transform it by what you do. You can be a positive team that creates a positive culture right now. And I think that's the best part, is like, it doesn't matter what you've done in the past, we're moving forward, and so what are you going to do today to change, if you don't like the culture on your team right now, because it ebbs and flows, and all of us kind of know that. And if you're an organizational leader and you've promoted a director, your culture changed drastically after that director is now on their own and has their own team. Your team culture changes because it's been kind of, broken in two. Right. And so it's important to just kind of recognize that ebb and flow, and don't beat yourself up about it. That's business. It's your job to just kind of recognize it and be like, this isn't the direction I wanted to go. So let's change gears. So you want to make your bus great. You may not be driving the big bus, but you can make your own bus great. Create a culture on your team and show the rest of the organization what a positive team looks like. Never doubt the impact of a positive team can have on its organization, community, and ultimately the world. When you make your bus great, you show people what's possible and help others drive towards greatness. And again, how many times, like being at Jubilee or even just through the FSRC, hearing people's success stories, and you're just like, that fuels your fire. That fuels my fire. When I hear people's success stories and the things they've overcome, I'm like, I could do that. And I think, well, if she did that, I can do that. She's not that much different than me, or I could be that. I could strive to that. Maybe that's a new goal. And so it's important to realize that your success is inspiring other people to drive their own bus, and to do those sort of things. You want to make your culture a priority. All right. What you focus on grows. All right. And so if you want to make your culture a priority, you have to put it first. You have to be thinking about that. I kind of skipping forward a little bit, and he says, When I changed, we changed. I was a hard driver and all about the outcome. And I never said it because my guys knew it. So he's talking about a coach who was all about the outcome. And there are times in our business that sometimes we're a little outcome focused because we're up against a goal, right? But sometimes things start to kind of waver a little bit and we become too outcome focused. And as hard as it is to shift away from that, because you're like, well, if I don't focus on the numbers aren't going to happen. Well, if you build the people build the business, right? The famous Brownie Wise said. And that's when we have to just kind of really take a minute in that leap of faith and really start focusing on the people. All right, how can I help this person right here have success in this business? What does success look like to them? You know, sometimes Pam challenges us to kind of reach down in our teams and do these little interviews with them, see where they're at. And that's kind of what we're doing. We're saying, what does success look like to you? And how can I be a part of that? How can I help you? And that's kind of taking your focus off of the outcome, which is so important to do. We work to become a great team instead of just a bunch of individuals who wanted to win a championship. And that's kind of, you know, when we work together to become a great team instead of a bunch of individuals hitting their numbers, you know, and that's kind of like, it's kind of like when they say, shoot for the moon, you might end up among the stars, right? So if you're shooting for this big goal, the championship goal, and you're kind of gearing towards that, you know, chances are you're going to end up further along than you thought you were going to. So I am actually going to pause there. So next week, I'm not sure who's going to be leading the call, but whoever's going to be leading the call, we'll pick up right there. It's on page 19, invest in the root is where we're going to start next week. But I just kind of want to open it up for questions or comments or anything like that, or any ahas that you had, just so that we have a little time to share before we hop off of here. Did anybody have anything they wanted to share?
Great. Oh, love it.
Good.
I'm excited for the rest of it.
Me too.
So, Ellen, when you were talking about, you know, being that positive person, you never know who, you know, you're going to influence. That is pretty much the reason why I am as far as I am in my business, is from you guys, you know, the director team, and watching you guys and coming to rally. Really, we talked about that in chapter 1, but seriously, coming, if you go up, you show up, you go up, and coming every week and watching those paychecks come out and looking at you guys and how positive, and, you know, I can do that. There's nothing that they're doing that I can't do. Like I can be that, I could do that. And it seriously changed my life. So that is really super impactful to a lot of people. And it definitely changed my life. I just had to add that in there.
It has changed your life. And I think all of us have loved watching your journey, Angela. I mean, you have an impact. Your story has an impact. Your success has an impact on, you know, other directors, but also people on our teams. You know, they look at you and they're like, I could do that. Or like, I'm a country girl. I can do that. I could be like her.
And I also love too, knowing that what it's done for me, and watching, you know, some of the future directors like Kelly Kosich, you know, coming up. It drives me, knowing what the business and a positive director team has done for me. And, you know, when I see her, I'm like, you should be up here, you know, and it helps me encourage other people. So by you guys being positive to me, us being able to give that to our teams and to the other champions on other teams, you know, that is huge, and it literally changes people's lives. And so I'm excited to be able to pass that on to others that I, you know, in the room at rally, when we see them, and, you know, just to give them a little, you really should be a director, and like kind of nudge them a little bit, and just give that little bit of encouragement and positive thought in their head, and just let them know, hey, we're all here for you. We're rooting you on. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Can you hear me, Ellen? It's
I can
Lori.
hear you, Lori.
All right, you can't see me, I'm driving. But I caught like the last 25 minutes, but, kind of going off of what Angela said, the one thing that I didn't expect when I started Tupperware was the bond that we've created at Champion. And the director bond is something that's irreplaceable. It is so strong in all kinds of different ways. And like Angela said, watching each other's successes, if for nothing else, people in Champion should want to become a director, not only for what it does for their business with paychecks, but to be a part of something so amazing that we've built, and it does help us encourage others. But it's something you really can't describe. And I'm sure the other directors can, speak to that, but you can't describe, the unity, all of us moving in one direction. And that's the power of a positive team. And if we can take what we have as directors and infiltrate it down to our teams, there is no stopping Champion as a whole. But I just imagine if we take that bond that we have as directors and drop it down into our team. I mean, that's the power of a positive team. That's how I interpret, the book, basically. So I'm glad we're doing this. I'm excited to go through the rest of the chapters again. So that's all.
Awesome. I think you're totally right. I mean, when we're able to really let this trickle down, I think it will make us unstoppable, and so, and I think that we'll have more people, rising to the level of director or manager, or even just being a really strong consultant if that's what their goal is, and yeah, and it just makes a positive environment to be in, and so one of the notes that I had that I didn't kind of get to was, what are your feelings around Tupper Tuesday? Are there times when you're just kind of like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this today, whatever. It's important for us to just kind of recognize that and in ourselves and realize that this is something we get to do. And Melanie is a perfect example. I'm sure she would love to get to come to rally every week, and so I'm sure that she would love that. And so we need to recognize that it is such a huge gift that we are able to plug into the source every single week and get our cups filled just by being present. It's not about, for us, that training is more for our people. But for us, it's being there and being in that positive environment is what fills our cup. Having that connection, seeing Lydia, seeing Loretta, seeing Angela, seeing my people, getting a hug from Pam, getting a hug from Jim, that's what does it for us. That's us plugging into the source. I see Melanie she says, coming from the outside in, which Melanie has a very unique perspective on all of this. I'm curious what she's saying. I see how there's a goal setting personality and for the team. It's not just competition or cutthroat. Champion is such an encouraging, positive environment. It's so refreshing. And yes, she would love to be there every week. And, and she's absolutely right. I do not feel like there is, for years, Loretta and I always said iron strengthens iron. you know? And so, because for years we were just neck and neck, we still are, you know, on things. And I don't view that as a competition. You know, I'm trying to beat me. I'm trying to do the best that I can. I'm trying to leave it all on the field. And I am mad at myself when I don't leave it all on the field. And so that is always my intention. It's not necessarily to be, you know, number 1, 2, 3, 4. It's, I want to do everything that I have in my power to do. And when I don't do that, I'm disappointed in myself. You know, so it's very important to just kind of like, you know, recognize that. Oh, Melanie added on, she says, being on the Zoom while you guys are in the studio, I feel to participate as I can allows others to feel it's okay to comment. Yes, absolutely. The more you can comment on there and draw people's comments out, that's huge. That is a huge way for you to participate, Mel. Huge, significant. So whether you do a watch party at your house, or if you do it just at home alone, whatever, or challenge your team to get on, whatever. But yeah, so Lydia, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, when you said, do we always want to go to rally every Tuesday meetings? No. There have been days that it's like, I have a 2-hour drive to get there and a 2-hour drive back home, and I'd rather stay home. But have I ever left there and said, oh man, I'm sorry I came? No.
Right.
always
No.
always glad that I was there. Yeah.
That's so true. So, that's a great point, Lydia.
It is definitely worth the drive. So, and I guess that's sometimes where I kind of struggle with people that are like within a half hour or an hour, and they, you know, may show up or they may not. It's each their own, but it's like, I just don't quite understand why you wouldn't be there, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to judge anybody, so it's, you know, whatever you want out of it, you get out of it. So
yeah. And the thing is too, I mean, Pam's always said, you know, you get to where you're going because you do things that people aren't willing to do. You know, and so, and it's that simple, you know, their goals aren't my goals. My goals are very high. And so that involves me showing up even when I'm sick, right? Today I'm a little under the weather. I'm surprised I haven't sneezed or coughed or had to blow my nose. But, you know, but I mean, that that's what it's about. It's about that big picture, that, you know, getting towards that big goal, you know? So, yeah, absolutely.
I just want to add the one thing, Ellen, you said, the get to versus the have to. Mm-hmm. That is what John posted this morning, and I passed that along to my team. And it's a great reminder, you know, and I think in our head, we just say, oh, I've got to go here, and I have to go here, and I have to do this. No, we get to, you know, we get to wake up and, you know, take the dogs outside, or we get to, you know, plan this call, or, you know, make calls to our team, or whatever it is we have to do, but you get to every day. I mean, that just brings that gratitude full circle, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know it's funny, earlier in the, like, I think it was sometime in the fall, I was sitting here one day and I'm working through my coaching calls. I'm a little tired that day, a little tapped out. And I found myself, and all of a sudden I was like, there are people that would kill to have a direct selling business like this. Like, this is the goal. Like, I'm literally living the dream. This is what people dream that they can do, that it's their full-time income, that they're able to stay home, be able to work their own hours, work with their people, work with people that are wanting to work the business. And I was just like, all right, suck it up. Keep making your phone calls, you know, because we do, sometimes you take that stuff for granted. So thank you, everybody, so much for the call and the participation. So now that you know all about it, make sure to, you know, promote it to your teams. You can send out quick little text messages just as we're getting started, and just with a quick little link, and be like, hey, we're getting on now, to get them involved. And like I said, I mean, I don't know how many of you actually read the chapters, but even if you didn't, I know you got something out of it. So I know you read the chapters, Lori. You were brown noser. I got it.
I just love, there's nothing, I think John Gordon, he could come out with, like, I don't know, like 20 steps on how to change a radiator, and I'd go out and buy the book. It doesn't matter what he publishes. I could care less. I I'm a
funny.
big John Gordon geek. I really am. I don't know.
That's hilarious.
On if you're on John Gordon's page, Lori Morris is a top fan, which means she comments a lot.
Well, I just have to share when Pam started our John Gordon success group, and she put his picture as the group picture. It was John, and I got the invitation, and I saw John's face, and it said John Gordon's mentoring group, and I was like, oh my God, he's inviting me somewhere, and I was so excited, and I clicked on it, and I saw it was Pam. I was like,
Oh, where are vendors parking?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Oh, whoops.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh.
I thought I muted you for a second. Awesome. All
Thank you,
right.
Ellen.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you for being on. Thanks for joining me in my vision with this. So we will see you next week. Bye.